What if the key to being happier and having the life you really want lies in understanding who you are and why you do what you do? If we think about it, when we can understand ourselves better, that leads to more self acceptance. Self acceptance leads to self forgiveness, self compassion, and finally, what we're all striving for, which is more self love. When we have more self love, that ripples into every other area of our life, like our relationships, our work, and just the fun that we're here to have. So, in this video, I'm going to share 6 frameworks that I have learned over the course of my life that have dramatically helped me understand who I am, what I'm here for, and why I do what I do. And it also helps me understand other people based on these frameworks and typing systems. So I'm here to share them with you in hopes that they can help you as well. So if you've been feeling stuck or lost, or you're needing a new beginning, or you want to self reinvent, you're starting over, or you just want some more understanding about where you are in life and what your next steps are going to be, then these 6 frameworks can be crucial to that process and pieces of your self discovery puzzle that can help you heal, rebuild, move forward, start over, whatever it is that you're wanting. Hi, I'm Emmy. Welcome to L3 Philosophy, which is love yourself, love your relationships, love your life. And I am here sharing tools, strategies, and stories to help you do all 3 of those things, especially during times of challenges, uncertainty, or life transitions. So, let's get into what these 6 frameworks are that I have learned. I am going to share them with you in the order in which I learned about them in my life. And I'll just kind of share some of the impact that they've had and how they can apply to you and your life as well. So, framework number 1 is called the Enneagram. This is a personality typing system. And if you've ever seen a picture of the Enneagram, it's basically a symbol that is a circle and it has a 9 pointed star inside, with each point of the star having a number. Now, the reason why it's arranged in the form of a star is because each of the numbers are interconnected. So, you're predominantly one number type, but you can have characteristics of some of the other numbers in you as well. But the whole point of this system is that every single person sees the world, sees reality, sees their circumstances through the lens of one specific number. So there are 9 different personality types, and this system was developed and modernized based on lots of ancient wisdom and traditions. And so multiple people have contributed to its modern day development over time. So, what's interesting is that each of the 9 personality types has their own core fears, which kind of drive that person's behavior. And each type has their own core desires, which kind of shows us what they highly value in life and what motivates them in life. And so, every single type also has different levels of health. So you can be functioning as one number type at a healthy level, an average level, or an unhealthy level, and different characteristics are going to show up for each. It's such a complex system. There's a lot more to it than what I'm telling you here, but I'm just going to give you a really brief overview so that you can go into your kind of research rabbit hole and discover more about yourself. But here are the basics. So I mentioned that there are 9 types. I'm just going to go 1 through 9. So, type number 1 is called the reformer. And that is because this person is extremely principled. They live and die by right and wrong. For ones, there's not a whole lot of gray area. Things are very clear. It's either this or that. They're very self-controlled, oftentimes perfectionistic, and they are purposeful. They want to do things the right way. And they actually get pretty upset when other people are not following the rules, or they might be living in a way that doesn't align with their viewed perception of what is right. So, some of the fears, I'm just going to go through what the fears and desires are of each type and also a profession that you might find them in, just to kind of give you an idea of, what this kind of person is that you've might have come in contact with each day or that you might be. Now, also just like a little side note is that you're not going to be able to tell your type just from me giving you this couple of sentences overview. You're really going to need to go and find the Enneagram test so that you can accurately figure out which number you are. Okay, so back to the one. Um, Ones really fear being wrong. They have a desire to always be in a good integrity. They really value truth. And ones can have a desire for perfection as well, as I said. And because of this, they have this clear sense of right and wrong. Different careers that could be a good match for them are lawyers, judges, politicians, maybe even guidance counselors, doctors, journalists. They love academia, so they love knowledge. They help inspire. They love helping to inspire others with their knowledge, and so teaching or roles of mentorship would be really good options for a one. Okay, type number two is called the helper. This person is extremely empathetic, generous, typically can lean toward people pleasing. They might also have a little bit of like a martyr in them, but they can be very warm hearted and they're driven to connect with others by being helpful. So, one of the fears of a helper is that they are unloved or they're unwanted. And so, their core desire is to feel loved and appreciated. And so, they do that by offering themselves up to help. So, twos are really driven by a desire to assist others, and you often find them in service oriented occupations. So, things like nursing, teaching, nonprofit organizations or leaders, counselors, humanitarians, maybe even religious leaders or life coaches could be a good occupation for a two. Okay, type number three is called the achiever. And just like its name implies, these people are extremely ambitious. They're adaptable. Change doesn't usually bother them all that much. They just kind of like take what's happening and they're like, all right, let's figure out how to make this work, how to be successful. Um, Threes are very image conscious because they care about how people perceive them. And not even necessarily in like a vain way, but one of their core values is achievement and success. And they really, really value recognition as well. So the deepest fear of a three is being worthless or disrespected. And they really strive, their desire is to achieve success and recognition. So they would probably be found in careers that kind of cater to their ambitious nature. So, marketing, financial analysts, entrepreneurs, surgeons, investment bankers, even lawyers or politicians. Um, they're very action oriented and they're motivated to achieve. So, careers where it's highly competitive is actually a supportive environment for them. Okay, type number four is called the individualist. Again, like its name implies, they really value their uniqueness. They are creative, they're expressive, they're sensitive, they're very self-aware. And again, they value uniqueness. So their fear is to be meaningless or, one of many, like, oh, just like everyone else, or a carbon copy or an imitation. No, they have their own style. They have their own maybe eccentricities. Their desire is to be authentic and also to be able to express their individuality. So, professions that you might see these people in are artist, dancer, tattoo artist, an actor, director, a writer, maybe a filmmaker or a painter, even musicians. They need to feel like their work is significant and has meaning to them and serves a purpose. Type number five is called the investigator. And these people are really perceptive, they are analytical, they are detail oriented, and they're really curious. They're focused on acquiring knowledge, but also the facts. They're not someone who's just going to believe something because you told them. They're going to want to know X, Y, and Z from multiple different sources before they can actually decide, if that is a true statement or if something is right or wrong. They're not just going to take your word for it. An investigator fears not knowing. So again, all the facts, all the details. They desire to be competent and to be helpful. And so careers that you might find those people in are anything that kind of highlights their expertise or their knowledge, but like in a detailed way. So diving deep into complex principles or ideas such as research, the academic fields, IT, engineering, maybe even data analysis or a scientist. They also enjoy journalism, right? Gathering all the facts, going behind the crevices and kind of, gathering all the information so that you can make a decision or a conclusion. They might be good at freelance work or also consulting. Type number 6 is called the loyalist. And a 6 is responsible. They are committed. They show up for work every day on duty, ready to be there. They can be very anxious, however, maybe even a little fear driven, because they're very security oriented. So they like structure and certainty, and they also seek loyalty from others. And when you think about relationships, when you have like that loyalty between you, you feel this sense of security, like that person isn't going anywhere. The 6 fears chaos, and so their desire is to always ensure that everything and everyone is well. 6s might gravitate toward careers where you have a really dependable environment. For example, like, once I become this profession, I'm going to be there for 30 years and it's going to offer me a great retirement package and I have my job security. So things like police officers, nurse, teacher, an administrative assistant, human resources manager, even a compliance officer. A type 7 is called the enthusiast, and this person is spontaneous, optimistic, fun loving, versatile. They seek new experiences all the time. They are not ones to spare any expenses. They might go all out because they're like, oh, why not? It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. They fear deprivation. So, when you think about a 7 going to a restaurant, they might want to order one of each thing on the menu. They don't want to be restricted or deprived from an experience that's going to make them feel good. They desire stimulation, to be engaged, and they always want to feel satisfied. So, because 7s are spontaneous and versatile, they thrive in dynamic roles. So, maybe they're not going to a job that is the same every day. They want a new experience all the time. They maybe want to work with different people every day. So, a travel writer or an event planner. Think about when you're planning an event. It's like, and then we could get these, and then we could do this. We could have this and this and this. They're thinking outside the box just to give you the most kind of sensory experience and excitement. Another good role for them might be an entrepreneur because you're constantly doing new, different things, tackling different challenges, maybe even a tour guide or a flight attendant, always doing something new. Okay, type 8 is called the challenger. And this type is very confident. They are assertive AF. They're dominant sometimes even domineering. They're direct and they can also be really protective. Their fear is to be controlled. Therefore, they would way prefer to be the leader. They are independent. They want to be the ones in control. 8s are really assertive, natural leaders. So, careers that would be good for them are leadership roles. So, things such as executives, politicians, again, a military officer, maybe even a business owner or a project manager. They also really have a drive for success. And lastly, type 9 is called the peacemaker. These people are easygoing, agreeable, they try to avoid conflict, and they really just seek harmony in everything that they do. They don't want to feel disrupted or upset, and so they will usually be kind of drawn to things that just give this nice sense of peace and comfort. So their fears are being confronted or any conflict situation. And they really, really hate disharmony. And that's because it creates disconnection from others. And that is one of their biggest fears. They desire to be connected and at peace. So, because they're so supportive, you might find nines in roles that involve fostering positive relationships. So, a counselor or a mediator. Think about in, a divorce room. Like the mediator is the one that's just trying to get everyone to get along so that we can reach a resolution. You might find them as a social worker or even a diplomat or maybe an occupational therapist. So, what can you do with all of this information? Well, first off, you can understand your type so that you know where your kind of strengths and areas that you need to strengthen can lie. You can also understand when you know these things about yourself, you can understand what things you can do to be supportive for your own growth and personal development. Every single number has its healthy levels, its average functioning levels, and then its unhealthy levels. And so your kind of goal is to always be evolving into your healthier level. Now, no number is better than the other. However, what's really funny is a type 3, for example, the achiever, they're the ones who will probably say 3 is the best number, or, everyone should strive to be a 3. But that's just their view of reality. All of the numbers have their strengths and drawbacks. So, as an example, I am a type 9. And so, when I am functioning at my healthiest level in life, I am compassionate, I'm content, I'm accepting of others. I have a very strong sense of self, and I'm resilient and adaptable. I'm really effective at communicating with other people. However, when a 9, and I've definitely experienced this in my life, is at their unhealthy levels, they can have a tendency to become completely disengaged with their life. So they might seek experiences that help them escape or disconnect, like zone out and watch Netflix for entire days straight, or just even go to sleep. Um, they might become passive and apathetic about life or decisions. They become numb and disassociated, overwhelmed and anxious. So, I'm giving you all of these examples because I have seen these things come up in my life, and it's really, really easy for you to judge yourself for how you're being or who you are. Like at your core, you are not your unhealthy level. You are meant to strive to your healthiest levels. And so those characteristics that are coming out might just be symptoms that you need to do some more self discovery and some more personal growth. So there were times, and I still see it now, like in my current life, it's like if I get too stressed out or too overwhelmed, I go into this state of kind of like freeze. I'm sure you've heard of, your nervous system, the fight, flight, or freeze response. I go into freeze. I just like shut down. I'm unable to make decisions. It's like my brain just like goes blank and I'm just like, uh, I don't know. And it's because in the unhealthy levels or when you're, having a lot of stress or you have a problem in your life, um, it's kind of your natural tendency to like fall back into those. But when you know that about yourself, you don't have to be unkind. You don't have to be like, wow, I'm such a waste of space. Like I'm so bad at making decisions. I really stink at following through. you don't have to think all of that because those are just your natural kind of responses to life. Whereas you can help support yourself and say, okay, I know I'm doing these things. I'm really stressed out right now. So, one way I'm going to support myself is actually to take an afternoon of relaxation so that I can breathe and come back into my peace. Because as a nine, peace is really important to me, right? I don't want to feel disrupted. So, what can I do to help myself get more centered and grounded and balanced? That's just an example of my type, which is a nine. But I've seen these different kinds of responses in other people where I do know their number. So, for example, my mother was actually is kind of like certified in the Enneagram, and so we grew up hearing about it all the time. We grew up knowing that my mom is a one, that my dad is a three, my sister most likely a seven, and so we know that their lens with which they see the world. So, for example, if we're at the family dinner table and we're talking, we know that anytime we talk about anything, my mom is going to have a really strong, assertive opinion about it. There is a definite right and wrong, and she is going to tell you what she thinks. That's because ones really work from a place of having strong principles. My dad is a three. He's an achiever. We know at the family dinner table that he is going to update us every single time we get together on how he did at tennis that day. He was able to win B court. He's finally on A court and he's maintained it for 2 weeks. That's because he's not bragging. He sees value in achievement, in winning. Um, my current partner is also a three. And so I know that he views the world through the lens of it is important to win, which is why he's always, spending hours and hours at the sport that he wants so that he can win games and be the best. It's important to a three. And so they might talk about it. I know I'm going to get daily updates about how he did at golf that day, what his score was. So the reason I'm telling you this is because when we can understand our number and somebody else's type as well, we might have judgments about them with the way that they react to us or to things in the world. And I'm not saying that, it makes all of their behavior okay if it's not, healthy, but we can at least understand like how they're perceiving the situation and the world. And what's crazy is that I had this book years ago that outlines exactly what relationships look like when two numbers are in a partnership together. So, for example, a three and a nine together. Here are all of the things that will be great between you. Here are all the areas where you might have a lot of conflict. It even goes so far to say, as here are all the things you might say to each other. And it is so accurate, it's just crazy. And so, this whole process of the typing helps you gain a better understanding of yourself so that you can be more self-compassionate and of others so that you can be compassionate towards others. And hopefully, here's my nineness coming out, be able to work through conflict and come to a resolution more easily. Okay, so that was my first framework, and I've basically used it all throughout my life. To help me learn more about myself and others. The second framework that I'm going to share with you today, you've probably heard of, which is love languages. Now, this is a kind of system that helps us understand how people express love and also prefer to receive love. This was developed by Gary Chapman, and he says that everybody has a preferred love language. And we appreciate the different ways that people can love by giving and receiving. And it can help us improve our relationships because imagine that you are an English speaking person and you are interacting with someone who speaks German as their primary language. You might both be talking to each other and you might be able to kind of, understand what they're talking about through context cues like their body language, maybe the environment that you're in. But at the end of the day, like you're really not understanding what they're telling you because they're speaking German, right? And same thing with them for you. It's the same thing with love languages. People can get so frustrated in relationships because they might think, oh, Like, why doesn't my partner, acknowledge when I've done the dishes? Why doesn't my partner help me clean the house? Why doesn't my partner give me gifts? Well, it's probably because they are giving you their love through their preferred love language, because that's how they want to receive it, and vice versa. So, the languages are, I'll kind of go through each one of them very quickly. Words of affirmation. This is just like it sounds. It's someone who really values hearing kind things, compliments, acknowledgments, just a kind of a reassurance through words. Maybe being told you're beautiful every morning, or maybe being told, wow, you are the partner for me. I love how you do this. I feel appreciated when you do that. Um, Words are really, really valuable. The second type is acts of service. This is the kind of person who's really going to value you helping them out with things, splitting responsibilities, taking the burden off of their shoulders and working through it with them. So it might come down to like helping your partner doing tasks. It's showing your love through actions. The next one is physical touch. And just like it sounds, this is someone who values touch, affection. So when you're walking around in a public place holding hands, maybe at home, it's doing lots of hugging and cuddling. Maybe it's even intimacy and sex. But this person really, really needs and values physical touch frequently. The next one is quality time. So this is the kind of person who just needs your undivided or appreciates your undivided attention. Maybe you even do things together where you're not even talking to each other, but you're spending time together. For example, you might see those couples that kind of sit out on their porch together for like hours and hours, maybe even a whole day goes by and they're not even talking to each other, but they're just enjoying each other's company, being next to each other in their respective rocking chairs. I mean, I'm not saying that this type needs to be not talking, but it's just an example of how the time together is what's important to them. It might also be, having quality conversations. And then the last kind of love language is receiving gifts. So, just like it sounds, this person really values having little trinkets or like people expressing their thoughtfulness through gifts. So, it could be a handwritten note, it could be something you buy, maybe it's a trip that you plan. People who are the receiving gifts type really just like the fact that someone has taken the time and effort to be thoughtful and give them some kind of gift. So, how does this apply to you? When you know your own love language, you can better express to your partner, to friends, to family, what feels supportive to you. And then you can also understand your other person's love language so that you can understand how you can give love to them and they will actually notice it and acknowledge it as an act of love. So, for example, as someone who prefers physical touch and words of affirmation, it's not as important to me if someone were to give me a gift. Would I appreciate it? Yes, but it doesn't like go a long way. However, if someone can be with me and have super presence and conversation and we're we're exchanging words and maybe there's some, some touch and some hug, that is actually going to feel a lot more loving to me than receiving a gift. And again, none of them are like good or bad. None of them are better than another. They're just different. And so it's just another way that we can understand how we can meet our own needs and also meet other people's needs when we're in relationships and also help us to better communicate with each other. All right, so that was framework number two. The next framework that I kind of learned about and have integrated into my life is understanding the differences and benefits of masculine and feminine energies. Now, this goes way beyond male, female, man, woman. All humans have both masculine and feminine energies within us, and we're constantly flowing into our masculine and feminine energies. We're just doing it in different amounts. So, someone who might identify as a really feminine woman will have a lot more feminine energy that she's embodying. Conversely, the man might have, who's like seen as a masculine man, might have like a traditionally masculine man, might have more kind of ratio of masculine energy. But we all have varying amounts. So, this is just another way for us to understand how we kind of see ourselves and the world. And also, these are energies that kind of transcend just gender alone. So, this is seen as something that can help us understand that we move through our daily lives doing tasks and thinking things that place us more in our masculine energy or more in our feminine energy. And that can feel really supportive, or it can actually make us feel really, really unsupported. So I'll give you some examples of what that means. Um, it's important to have a balance of each of these energies and in the amounts that work for you. So, in general, characteristics of masculine energy are linear, goal oriented, focusing on external achievements, action based. It's the part of us that plans and executes and builds. It's think of it kind of as like our grounded pillar of stability, a frame, right? If you have, a house, like the foundation and the walls and the framework would be the masculine energy, and then all of the decoration and the extras inside would be more of the feminine energy. The masculine energy sets boundaries and takes responsibility, and they also protect what matters. So, keywords to remember for masculine energy characteristics are logic, focus, action, assertiveness, stability. So, why is this important? Because if you are a woman and you spend way more time in your masculine energy, it can actually lead you to feel burnout. It can make you feel resentful, angry, or bitter that maybe you're working too much. Other side effects of women spending too much time in their masculine energy can kind of show up as them being controlling or competitive or overly aggressive. And to remedy that, you would just need to do things that allow you to spend more time in your feminine energy. Because biologically speaking, it's kind of more supportive for you to have a higher ratio of spending time in your feminine energy than in your masculine. So, what are some of the characteristics of feminine energy? Feminine energy is all about flow and creativity and connection and freedom. It's like that free, wild spirit. It's that warmth. It's that nurturing. Feminine energy embraces emotions, fosters relationships, and also nurtures growth in other people. Feminine energy actually thrives in the unknown. It's kind of exciting because feminine energy is playful and flowy and fun. They thrive, or feminine energy thrives on intuition and compassion. So, some keywords to remember for feminine energy are intuition, emotion, creativity, connection, and also being receptive and receiving. So, when a man over identifies with his feminine energy, or maybe he's been spending too much time in his feminine and not enough in his masculine, things can show up such as maybe he avoids confrontation. Maybe he becomes overly accommodating to others. Maybe he struggles to assert personal boundaries. He might even have a hard time making firm decisions and find himself being really indecisive or seeking excessive input from other people and asking for other people's advice when he's going to make a choice. Um, it could also show up as a man avoiding taking initiative or responsibility, waiting for other people to take the lead, or maybe not actively pursuing his goals. So This all these things just mean that a man could spend more time in his masculine energy or doing things that support his masculine energy to bring him back into his kind of balance and centeredness. So these two frameworks are just really, really helpful in helping somebody feel vibrant and alive and truly authentic. Because when we're spending time in an energy that doesn't feel natural to us too much of the time, it knocks us kind of out of balance internally. And it also knocks off the balance of our relationship dynamic. Because let's say, what I want you to also be clear on, excuse me, is that when a woman who typically is identifies as being like a very feminine woman, when she is able to spend like a lot of her time in her feminine energy, it is polarizing to when a man is spending a lot of time in his masculine energy. These are opposite ends of the pendulum. And so, therefore, they attract each other. And that's when you might feel a lot of kind of desire for maybe your partner, for example, is when both people are able to be in their naturally occurring energies. It creates an attraction between you. It's a magnet. However, when a woman is spending too much time in her masculine energy, she comes closer to the center. She's not as far off on the end, closer to the center. If the man is not able to, kind of provide the frame required for her to be super feminine, the attraction is actually going to decrease. This is when intimacy might disappear. For example, in long term relationships, especially if you have kids or a family and all these responsibilities, the woman is kind of forced into her masculine energy often. And so that is the point where she all of a sudden doesn't feel like being intimate anymore. You don't see her as being as fun loving and vibrant, maybe as she was when you were first dating. Um, and so the key to this is making sure that she has time to be able to rejuvenate and tend to herself, self-care, do things that allow her to relax back into her flow and her creativity. And vice versa, masculine energy can be supported as well. So it's important for polarity in relationships. It's also important for you to kind of be back into your own balance of what ratio feels right for you. Okay, that was framework number 3. Framework number 4 that has made a huge impact on me understanding myself and how I function in life and how you can function in a relationship are attachment styles. So, this is kind of like a typing system, but again, it's this framework for how we function and respond to our circumstances and how we respond to people in our lives. So, attachment styles are basically a style of response and coping that we developed from early childhood. So, when we were young children, we kind of learned how to respond to our caretakers in a certain way that would get our needs met. So there were lots of, experiments done and studies done to observe children in different situations, and these attachment styles came out with these characteristics. So the first attachment style is secure. This is someone who feels confident in relationships. They feel comfortable with intimacy. They can easily express their needs and their emotions. They are maybe open to being vulnerable. They trust easily and readily, and they're good at managing conflict because they're really secure in who they are. And they know that even if change comes, even if conflict comes, everything will pan out in the end. So, the next attachment style is anxious. These people have a core fear of abandonment. At their core, they feel as though people are going to leave them. And so it leaves this anxious response to circumstances or people that trigger this response in them. Now, this is a kind of person who could come off in relationships as being a little bit clingy or over dependent or needy because they're constantly seeking reassurance from their person or even friends and family that they're not going to leave them. They could be jealous easily. They might worry about their partner's commitment. And so you might see somebody who has an anxious attachment style. These are the kind of people who might like to, text all throughout the day and might get really anxious if the other person doesn't text them back. They'll automatically kind of trigger that early on style from when they were children. And they might think, oh my gosh, this person hasn't texted me back yet. Oh my gosh, I wonder if they're mad at me. I wonder if something's wrong. Oh my God, I knew it. I knew it. They're second guessing our relationship. They're going to leave me. And then, a half hour, the text comes in and they're like, like, thank God, everything's okay. Right. So they're constantly seeking that reassurance. And so you don't have to experience this all the time for the rest of your life just because you have this attachment style. Once you become aware of these behaviors and you understand why they're happening, you can support yourself rather than judge yourself. Um, you might have this sense that, oh my gosh, like, what is wrong with me? I know I've said this to myself before many, many times. It's like, oh, why am I such a psycho? Why am I having these crazy reactions and responses? Why am I exploding about something? It's most likely the attachment style is being triggered in that instance, and this is the behavior that is the result. So once I know that about myself, I can be a lot more intentional and conscious about how I choose to respond. If I feel myself having an emotional response to something, I can step back and I can say, okay, this doesn't have to be what, is truly happening right now. I can take a moment to decompress, to really kind of, bring myself back into a balanced, peaceful state before I choose to act. And this is something that all of the attachment styles can do. So you're not destined to be this way your whole life. You can change your behavior at any time. Okay, the next attachment style is called avoidant. And mean joke from the universe is that a lot of times anxious people, anxiously attached people, and avoidant people end up in relationships with each other. And it creates this ongoing cycle and triggering within each of them. And I'll show you why. So, just as I gave the example of the anxious person really loving having text messages come in all throughout the day where their person is checking in with them and telling them how much they love them and, saying, oh, I can't wait to see you for our next date on Thursday. The anxiously attached person loves that. The avoidant, however, can't stand that. The avoidant's core fear is being stifled, is their freedom being cut off, their wings being clipped. They truly, truly value their independence. And so they get really uncomfortable with intense closeness. So these are the people who could probably go days without texting you. And if someone is texting you a lot, it's automatically going to make you shut down, disconnect, and push away. It's going to make you take a step in the opposite direction and be like, whoa, pump the brakes. This is way too intense for me. Now, the thing about the avoidant is that they truly do want meaningful, loving relationships. However, they get kind of like scared off or disenchanted with people who are overly in their face. So, avoidance might sometimes have trouble expressing their emotions because that creates a vulnerability and this like emotional connection, which could feel really scary for them. So, when you think about an anxious and an avoidant in a relationship with each other, they're constantly pushing each other's trigger buttons. The avoidant steps back, which causes the anxious person to be like, oh my God, they're pulling away. I can feel it. They're leaving me. They're going to leave me. Their fear of abandonment. However, when an anxious person is bombarding the other avoidant person with like questioning or over affection because they're feeling anxious, the avoidant will naturally step back and be like, what is going on? I can't take this. Okay, so it's only when both people can really understand the place that they're functioning from, they can understand why their own reactions are happening in themselves, but then they can also learn how they can best support their partner. The last attachment style is disorganized, and this is characterized by inconsistent behaviors in relationships. They might switch between anxious and avoidant behavior. So they might constantly be going in and out, and they might have that, closing off, but then like, oh my God, where are you going behavior. They might have difficulty sorry, they might have difficulty regulating their emotions, and they also might have unresolved traumas from the past that are causing these kinds of triggers. So, with all that being said, all of these frameworks, especially attachment styles, these are just giving you tools to help you understand how you can be aware of your inherent way of being in life so that you can make more conscious decisions about how you respond to things and about what is happening, like what is the root thing that's happening between you and other people. Okay, framework number 5 is human design. Now, I have only more recently learned about frameworks 5 and 6 I'm going to share with you today, but they are really, really important in how I can accept myself and understand how I function. And I hope that this can do the same for you as well. So, human design is a system that combines ancient and modern disciplines to create somebody's energetic blueprint. So, you can think of it as this kind of map to your energy levels and how much you experience energy within yourself, but also what gives you energy and what drains your energy. So you would figure out your human design type by your birth chart information. And it kind of creates this like body graph to help you understand how you energetically operate and move through the world. It also can help you understand how you make decisions. So I'll just briefly tell you what the different types are and how this can apply to your life. So the first type for human design is called a manifester. These are kind of like the fire starters who are born to initiate action, start new projects, bring fresh ideas to life. They're natural leaders. They often want to create change. They have an ability to take action quickly, and they're good at setting, a direction for themselves. Now, a challenge for a manifester can be that they might appear forceful to other people if they're not mindful of other people's needs. And they also find it important to like inform everybody about their plans, which other people might think is weird or just like imposing. Okay, the second type for human design is called a generator. These people are the types that are often described as the energizer bunny. I mean, they can just go, 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 and it's hard for them to sit still. So they're usually full of joy. They're designed to pursue their passions when the passions feel aligned. And the alignment is actually really, really important for these people because they are responders to their environment. And so it's actually really important that they get a strong kind of signal from their body. This is a yes for me. This is a no for me. And this is going to help them take aligned action and make decisions in their life. So, because they have really consistent energy, they have a really high potential for being highly productive. Now, they can also become burnt out, though, if they're not listening to their body. They might struggle with making decisions if they don't have a sense of a clear direction. Okay, the next type is a combination of the two I just shared with you, which are manifesting generators. These people have a combination of both initiating and also responding to their environment. They're highly flexible and adaptable, and they also are really good at bringing new ideas to life. They can really quickly assess opportunities and they can be good at initiating projects while also staying grounded at the same time. One of their challenges, though, is that they might experience decision paralysis if they're not clear about their direction. So they can tend to jump from one thing to another, kind of like shiny object syndrome. You know, they'll get super into one thing and they'll be like, oh, what's that over there? And then get super into that thing. Oh, what's that over there? So that's just a trait that you might see. The next type of human design is a projector. These are the seers, and they have a natural eye for spotting inefficiencies in systems or even where improvements need to be made in systems or even in people. So they make really great guides and observers. They function best when they are invited to share their insights and their expertise. They tend to have a really deep understanding of people, systems, how things work, and they're able to see the potential in other people and also the potential in projects, like what could be. So you might, if you're interacting with a projector, you might really feel inspired, like, wow, this person really believes in me. It's because they do, they can see the potential. Now, projectors do have to be really careful because they have kind of this limited amount of energy. They actually get energy from other people, but if they're surrounded by people that aren't bringing them energy, they can quickly and easily feel very drained. So it's important for them to be very strategic about who they spend time with and also how much time they're spending out in the world, engaging. They might need a lot of time to kind of come back to themselves. I myself am a projector, and so I deeply resonate with this idea of only having this kind of limited amount of energy and then needing a lot of time to rejuvenate. And I know that I am extremely particular with who I socialize with, and I only want to be around people who are feeding me this kind of like positive, supportive, visionary energy. And lastly, we have the reflectors. These are the smallest percentage of people in the world, and they see things in others and are able to reflect them back when the other person is open to receiving it. So these people are actually really, really sensitive to their environment. If there's too much stimulation, that can be really distracting and overwhelming for this kind of person. They need a lot of alone time to kind of withdraw and process and also recharge. They are really, really wise and they have a lot to share with the world and with other people because they have a very objective perspective. They have the ability to see all sides of a situation. They can often feel overwhelmed, like if they, like I said, if they're in environments that are overstimulating, maybe like, if let's say you're going to a really big concert, that can just be too much. I mean, you've got the loud music, you've got people everywhere, you've got, food, you've got smells, it's just, it can be a lot. So it's important for them to take time to reflect before they make decisions about what they want to move forward with and where they want to spend their time. So, human design has really helped me understand myself as a projector in a lot of different ways. So, first of all, it's always been kind of a challenge of mine when I'm going into a new environment. Let's say I'm going to a party or a group setting where I don't know anybody yet. I've always had this feeling of like anxiety about going to a new social setting. And that's because a projector feels naturally kind of confident and comfortable when they're invited. So, for example, walking into a new place, for me to have to go up to people and say hi and introduce myself and just like come up with things to talk about, it feels really kind of anxiety inducing. And so people might view me. So the reason I'm telling you this is because we always judge people. We always see people in a certain way, but there's a reason why they're like that, right? And so people might initially view me as being shy, quiet, introverted, and I've been labeled these things many times. But the second that someone comes up to me and starts talking and initiating conversation, I am really animated. I'm present. I'm there. I've got a lot of energy. And it's because of that simple switch of me walking up to someone and initiating versus me being invited. And so for most of my life, I saw this as like there's something wrong with me, or why can't I be more like this extrovert or this outgoing person? But I knowing this is who I am, this is how I'm made, this is my composition, helps me accept myself more and also understand how I can support myself. So in business, for example, rather than being the one who's like reaching out and sending all the emails and, pitching myself, I can understand that I simply have to just make myself visible and people will naturally invite me to collaborate with them or invite me to work with them. And that is a much better strategy. So in human design, it's all about learning what strategy works best for your human design type. And that's going to be different for each one. All right. The last one I'm going to share with you today, the number 6 framework is called Gene Keys. Now, this one is also determined based on your birth data. And so there are apps out there, there's websites where you put in your information and then they tell you what your human design is. They tell you what your Gene Keys profile is. So you just have to find those resources and you can get this whole write up about to learn more about yourself. So the gene keys are kind of this spiritual and self-development tool that gives you your gene keys profile, which shows you what your purpose and potential is in life. It's essentially acting as this personalized map that shows you your internal self, your inner being, and what you can access through contemplation and reflection. So this was developed by a man named Richard Rudd, and it's based on the concept that everybody has this set of gene keys, which represent your unique gifts and your unique challenges. This has made a huge difference in my life because, again, we can be extremely self-judgmental about the problems that we're having in our life. Or, for example, maybe the same challenge is showing up over and over and over again in your life, maybe through different relationships, maybe through circumstances. And you're like, why does this keep happening to me over and over again? What we can understand through gene keys is that you are most likely going to have one or two core challenges that you are meant to work through throughout your entire life, throughout your entire soul's journey. You are meant to have this challenge so that you can evolve. And so what the gene keys shows us is that all of us have within our specific gene keys in our profile. Every gene key has a shadow, every gene key has a gift, and every gene key has what they call a siddhi, which is your highest potential. So I'll give you an example of one of mine, just so that you can have some idea of what I mean by that. So when I did my profile, it gave me three specific gene keys that we were going to focus on. One of the gene keys was for my purpose in life, one was for love, and one was for prosperity. So I'm just going to share the one about purpose with you. So for each of these that I just shared with you, it tells me what my challenge is for my life's purpose, what my challenge is for love, what my challenge is for prosperity, what my gift is for each one, and then also what my my highest level of enlightenment can look like. Okay. So, for example, for my purpose, my biggest challenge in kind of aligning and achieving my purpose is discord, which means that I might have the inability to learn from my past experiences. There might be an unwillingness in me to take the necessary steps to change unhealthy behaviors. And this, when I learned this, I was like, oh my God, this makes so much sense because I have in the past repeated the same cycles over and over, just with different people. And so this is in alignment with the challenge of not taking the necessary steps to change unhealthy behaviors, right? If you follow me, then you know that before I was in this on and off relationship, this cycle that continued for 6 years. We would break up, get back together, break up, get back together, break up, back together. And so this makes so much sense because instead of just breaking up and leaving that relationship for good and just moving on, I kept going back, kept entering the same cycle. That was my inability to learn from my past experience. It was like, oh, maybe it will be different this time, and then hopping right back in. Okay. This actually makes me think of that if you've seen the meme on social media where it's like you see the sheep is like stuck in a rut and somebody like pulls it out, and then as soon as the sheep is free, it like jumps and then jumps right back into the ravine. That's basically what this particular challenge is telling me. And so once I can be aware of that, right? This particular gene key also gives me the gift. The gift is how I can overcome that obstacle. So my gift in this life, if I so choose to utilize it, will help me overcome discord. So in my case, the gift is discernment. It's learning to distinguish the voice of the mind from the voice of the heart. It's also learning to develop the ability to sit with my discord, my discomfort, my pain long enough for the truth to reveal itself. If I can harvest and cultivate this gift, I can overcome discord, which then brings me to my highest level, which is called in Gene Keys speak the city. And for me, that is empathy. This is the thing I can aspire to in regards to my purpose. So I can aspire to empathy by doing deep listening of other people. And so this is just one gene key and examples of how it has shown up in my life. And just by simply knowing that, I have an awareness now of when things show up, I can understand why they're there and how to better deal with them, how to better navigate. So it's helped me during times when I have felt very frustrated and I'm just like, you know what? This is I think a lot of times people treat their challenges and their obstacles as just like things that are in the way that they need to get over so they can move forward. But sometimes those obstacles might actually be more of a constant in your life. And for me, embracing that concept has actually greatly helped me be more accepting of what I'm here to do and all of the challenges that I might encounter. So it's okay. It's okay that this challenge keeps showing up. This is a process that I'm going through, and it's a part of my soul's journey. It's a part of my soul's evolution. All right. So those were the 6 frameworks. I know it was really long and there is so much more detail that you can learn about each one. But I really encourage you to actually subscribe to the channel because right now I'm recording this in January. I mean, in December. In January, I am launching even more videos. I have interviews with people where we're going to be talking about all different tools and stories that you can use to help you L3, help you love yourself, help you love your relationships, help you love your life. I already did an interview with a modern day priestess who talks a lot about the masculine and feminine energies, a little bit of what I've shared with you today. She and I go into a lot more detail. I've already had an interview with someone who is going to talk about the change cycle and how you can identify what phase you're in so that you can better navigate what your next steps can be. And so, all of these things I shared with you today are just little pieces of the puzzle to help you with your self discovery and bringing you more toward self acceptance, self love, so that that can ripple out into your relationships and your life. So please subscribe, like, comment what you want to hear more about. Which types did you resonate with? I would love to know. And let's continue having this conversation. So I will see you in the next video.